Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another in the video series covering Accura updates. This time we're going to be covering version 6.12 build 3, which was released this October 2021, and this is our first release, you could say, post-COVID. So we're going to kick this off with the new HTML editor and browser. You may or may not know, but Accura uses its own internal web browser, and we do this for things like our live chat, our online resources, and also for the HTML editor that drives the email engine. So if I open up the online resources, for example, you'll find this on the toolbar with this question mark, and you'll also find it on the help menu if you choose online resources. So what you're looking at here is our own internal web browser, and from here you can navigate to all of the various help and PDF links and so on, and even some videos on the various features of Accura. So why did we do this, and why should you care? Well, we did this because our previous browser and HTML editor was based on Internet Explorer, and in the more recent versions of Windows, and now in Windows 10 onwards, that's been deprecated. So it was becoming increasingly difficult for us to continue down that path because it wasn't HTML5 compatible. So the new web browser is based on a thing called the Chromium Embedded Framework, which is an open source library that all modern day browsers are based on, including Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and others. But it is standalone. You do not need any of those products installed on your PC for this to work. That's the online resources. So if we go into our email templates, same thing applies. The UI is slightly cleaner, slightly flatter. You'll see it supports all the normal formatting of tables and divs. You can add foreground and background colors, you can add images, you can justify right, center, left, etc. We can use bold, italic, underscore. We can use different font sizes and different font types. All of this is within your capabilities, and over on the right here you have your email tokens, which you can think of as like doing a mail merge. So let's say you wanted to personalize an email and you said dear Fred or dear Dave, depending on who it was going to. You could choose a contact name, first name, last name, etc., and embed that as a token within the email and do an e-blast and so on. So anyway, the reason for showing you this is that the editor is now been modernized. It's now HTML5 compatible, and it's a lot more reliable. So just before we go too much further, I want to make sure that everyone is aware of the release notes that we publish with every new Accura upgrade. We spend a lot of time putting these release notes together. It takes many, many weeks and months. We have two types. We have the full release notes, which are a kind of technical guide. The second one is a summary version, which focuses mainly on new features. And you'll find that from the help menu within Accura. You can see it goes in descending order, different builds, different versions. So that's on the help menu under what's new, and you can bring that up at any time. Okay, so the next feature I'm going to show you is the purchase invoice extras feature. So this is where you've raised a purchase order for a quantity of, let's say, material, and during the life cycle of the job you realize you need more, and the customer has approved this. He agrees to pay the extra charge. It could be his area or whatever. So you've contacted the supplier and you've organized the extra material, but you want to break that out on the invoice, because now you've got the cost of materials as estimated, and you've got an extra that the customer agrees to pay for, and he wants that itemized on the invoice. So we need to create an invoice extra. Now in the past, the way you would do this is raise your PO, raise your purchase invoice, you would then have the total cost of material, the true quantity of material, posted back to the job as a job cost, and you'd then have to go separately and raise a change order, which can then be issued as a line item on the invoice. Well, with this new feature, you can now do that all in one. So as you're doing the purchase invoice, you can flag a certain portion of the job quantity as an invoiceable extra. So let's try and show you that. So what I'm going to do is going to choose a job. It doesn't really matter what the job is, and I'm going to raise a purchase order, and I'm going to order this Art 150 material. So although I only need 212 sheets, because it's packed in 500s, we have to order a whole pack. So the system has figured that out for us. So let's save that PO. So that's PO 1277. And normally I would be emailing this to the supplier. Now at some point, we've decided that we need more. And so we've contacted the supplier. Whether we've amended the PO or not doesn't really matter. So we're going to receive that PO into stock. So we ordered 500, but I'm actually going to receive 600. They've given us 100 extra from a spare box, but we need to pass that cost on to the client. So we're going to do that shortly. So I've now received my purchase order, and at a later point the purchase invoice will come in from your supplier. So I'm going to select the PO and raise my purchase invoice. So that pulls that into my purchase invoice, and I'm going to edit that line item and say, well, I actually received 600, but some of this is an invoiceable extra. So I ticked this box down here. And so I can put in a reference, whatever that might be, and I can say, well, 100 of those sheets is my extra. So my total sheets is 600, but only 100 of those are invoiceable extras, which come to a total of 45, including tax. Click OK. And that just puts a little icon there just to tell us that this line item includes invoiceable extras. Put in our purchase invoice number and click OK, and this is marked as invoiced. So when it comes to actually complete my job and invoice it, what should happen is those extra 100 sheets could come through onto the sales invoice to my customer. So let's do that now. Let's go and complete this job and just say it's complete. We don't need to raise a delivery note. We can do that. Will do the same thing. And then we're going to invoice this job. And at this point, it will ask us if we want to include extras. If we say yes, then you'll see all the breakdown, and then you'll see the extra line item, which is the 100 sheets of the gloss art and so on, with a list price of 38 plus tax, which came in at 45. So what you've done is you've streamlined that process of adding the extra onto the job. So the 600 sheets have been included in the job cost, but your 100 of those have been charged as an extra because we only allowed for 500 when we worked out our price originally. So you can do that with any type of purchase order. Okay, let's move on to the next item. And this relates to the Acurace Ship module in conjunction with the EasyPost API. So what we were finding was some of our clients use couriers who have their own coding system for packaging types. So to get an accurate price, we have to tell EasyPost the packaging code for that carrier. For example, if it was FedEx, they might call the package a box. And if it was UPS, they might call it parcel, and another courier might call it something else. So we had to find a way to pass on the approved packaging types when we make our request to the carrier. So if we go into packaging, Now, our internal packaging types are just ones that we use in Accura. They can be anything you like, and they can continue to be anything that you like. But down here, you've now got this area where you can put in the code that is courier specific for this particular type of box. So if this box has certain dimensions and so on and so forth, and Parcel Force call it that, but another courier might call it something else, then you can define different codes for this one packaging item. So you carry on as normal in Accura, booking things against A4 box, A5 box, whatever it might be. And depending on the carrier that you're dealing with, you can assign the correct code so that the EasyPost API can pass that down the line and you'll get the right price back. So it's quite a clever way of us being able to use one designator within Accura, but it outputs differently depending on who you end up booking for your carrier in the EasyPost integration. Okay, so that should make things a lot easier for our Acurace Ship users. Another feature we've just added to Acurace Ship is the ability to set up carrier-specific defaults. Now, by that, what we mean is the type of label it downloads and the label size and certain things like that. And that's because with certain courier APIs, when we were requesting a 6x4 PDF label, we were not getting a 6x4 label, we were getting a 6x4 in position on an A4 or an 8.5 by 11 sheet, which is not what we're looking for. So this requires us to support different label formats for different carriers. And you'll see here I've only got one carrier. This is just a demo API, and you can see I've got the label format set up as PDF and 4x6. So other choices would be PNG or ZPL, and different sizes of label will depend on the printer that you're outputting it to and so forth. You'll also notice we have this prefix 1, custom ref 1, prefix 2, custom ref 2. You can now define how these work yourself. So on a label, a courier label, typically we would be populating the delivery note number as reference 1, and we would be populating the parcel number as reference 2 or something like that. But what you can now do is you can choose how these get populated. So reference 1, you might want to be the job number, or you might want it to be the customer's order number. And reference 2, you might want it to be the delivery note number or perhaps the label number. And of course, this can all be done on a carrier by carrier basis. So with those changes to the Acurace Ship module, we think we've made it a lot more flexible, and we hope you'll make good use of those. So the next thing I'd like to cover are the changes we've made to VoIP compatibility. So what is VoIP? VoIP stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, which basically means telephony over the internet. And many modern day phone systems are already VoIP compatible. And they may well come with software to install on each PC on your network, often called a soft phone. This basically means that you dial the number with a headset and you don't need an actual physical handset. This works really well for CSR type users who are on the telephone all day long. So this can be done in all kinds of places in Accura, but essentially it means bringing up a contact record on screen and clicking the VoIP dialing button next to the telephone number or the dedicated Skype or VoIP ID. And then this will bring up our automated dialer from which you can just click a button and it will dial the number. Now, the way we've made changes to this is that we've upgraded it. So in the past, the VoIP dialing would only work with VoIP clients like Skype and some others, but modern day phone systems have taken that to a new level. So what we've done is we've upgraded the API in the background, and this now supports a much wider variety of VoIP telephony than before. The way you set this up is you go into your system default settings and go to utilities and along to VoIP, And what we now have is three basic different methods of communication with the VoIP API. One is called call to, which is the traditional method we used to use. Another is called tell, and then you have a custom API URL. You don't really need to understand how these work, as your VoIP provider will tell you which one you should be using and what to type in. So don't worry about that too much. I'd just briefly like to mention a change we've made to commission plans. In the past, it wasn't possible to select a commission plan for a product order. It required an estimate or a service order. Now we've added that feature so that you can have commission plans within product orders and service orders. Now if you go to the invoicing tab, we've opened up those fields and they will calculate based on the commission plan that you choose and how that is derived. So whether it's based on cost price, selling price, profit margin, etc., the commission plan will calculate out the commission value applicable. So that's just going to make things a little bit more flexible for you. The next thing I'm going to briefly mention is on email again. So previously we had customers using custom email settings for email broadcasts. So whereas they'd use their regular internet provider as their mail host on ad hoc emails, they want to use a bulk email sender for email broadcasting. And one of the most popular ones of those is a company called SendGrid. However, we had some problems with SendGrid because they introduced some new security measures and our email was not compatible with those. So our emails were getting rejected. So I'm pleased to say that we've now overcome those issues, and you will need to obtain an API key from SendGrid, which you can do in your account online. And once you paste that into this field here, it's a gobbledygook series of characters, quite a large key, and you'll be able to test the email settings and you'll find that SendGrid will work without any issues. Okay, the final thing I'm going to cover now in this collection of new features in version 6.12 is some improvements we've made to the handling of the notes using the notepad in Accura. As you may know, the notepad appears in all kinds of places within Accura. You can use it for clients, suppliers, orders, quotes, purchase invoices, purchase orders, and so on. What we've added in this release is some further enhancements. The ability to choose whether notes get outputted with the generated XML, let's say for an order or a quote. Do we want the notes to appear? And also, do they get copied with the parent? So what that means is when we copy an order, there might be some internal notes that really we don't want copying across onto the new order because they're not relevant anymore. So let's say you were using the notepad to record how the job went and whether there were any problems. Obviously, those problems might not be encountered again the next time the job comes in. So when you copy an order, this tick box determines whether you want that note to be copied with the order and therefore displayed with the new order. So that could get confusing if you're talking about something that's historical, it's happened in the past and it's not likely to happen again, and you're applying that note to a new order, and that's really not the sort of thing you want to happen. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up there, and thanks for watching if you've made it this far. And I'm going to be doing another video series covering the Accura Online enhancements for version 6.2. So I'll see you there.